This video will show you how my beat 'em up template works, and also will act as a tutorial. Now in this video we will be covering how the moves are generated. It's quite a complicated process. The moves are, the input is turned into a string, and then that string is used to access the moves that are stored in a map, which probably doesn't sound like English, but it will eventually start to make sense. Alright, so the first thing I need to tell you about is the Enums, because this is where it all starts. Now I've generated all of these Enums. If you're a beginner and you don't know what an Enum is, well, a lot of people will tell you shouldn't be making a fighting game, but put it this way, you'll have a lot to learn. Alright, so I've made up all of these Enums. Bottom, left, right, top, shoulder. Yeah, it's all based on the gamepad. Although I have also put in keyboard commands. The directions are there too. Full direction. This is used for when you're not being knocked towards away or not being knocked anywhere at all. Hit height. This is for the AI. So the AI knows what you're doing and you can tell the AI how to react. Set controllers. Not totally relevant to this, but we've got player, AI, blah blah blah. Yeah, demo's 2-player and AI versus AI and player versus AI, but I digress. Stance, this is a pretty important one. Right stance, left stance, lane on front, lane on back. Strike input. This is this is to do with whether or not you're allowed to strike, enabled, or interrupt. Now during interrupt, the an animation notify sets off the interrupt and enables that, and then there'll be certain moves you can input at a certain time. In other words, a combo, an interrupt based combo. And then there's disabled for when you're stunned and whatnot. Striker, this is the socket that the sphere trace will be added to, and also pulse, end pulse. If you saw my other tutorial about striking in beat 'em up games where I use a sphere trace instead of a hitbox, this would all seem familiar to you. But we've also got throw, left knee and right knee. But throws are handled differently, very differently, and they won't be covered in this video. And where was I hit? This is there for the hit reaction, which is similar to what you'd have seen in my previous video, the old one with the red robot. Right, and then the next thing you need to know about to make sense of the other stuff, the actual functionality, is going to be the struct. Right, input strike data. This is what's actually going into, well, going into the hand-to-hand component, or H-to-H component as it's called in project. The direction, button input, stance, falling and crouching. If you're neither falling nor crouching, you're standing. Launch variables, this is telling them where to go. So say you uppercut someone, you want them going up on the Z. We're not using the Y on this project because it's 2D in principle, but X and Y is there. I plan on making third person beat 'em ups at some point, so it's all there ready. And X and Y override. These overrides are for when you want to completely change the direction of whatever it is you're hitting. For example, if you've just given someone an uppercut and you want them, if you want them to slow down, if you want to take into account the speed they're already going, like they're coming down very fast and you hit them, and you want the speed they're going to be, the speed they're moving at to be reduced from, taken away from the speed that you're hitting them, if that made any sense, then you do not override. But if you want to just knock them back up full force, then you override it. Basically, the override, just think of it as the override cancelling out the inertia. It's probably the best way to explain it. Move struct, this is an important one. Got the direction, array of directions, so you can have forward, front punch, forward, front punch, back punch, or whatever, just like in the beat 'em up games you all know and love. And then the button, and then output strike data. Now this is an array to allow you to press a button more than once and get a different move. Output strike data. Now you'd have noticed there was output strike data in the move struct. You was probably wondering what that was, but this has all the information needed to carry out the move. So we got the anim montage for the left and right stance, self montage L, montage R, and you got called itself because we've also got opponent montage. If this isn't set, it's going to go to the default one, which is going to be stored in the character launch self. So in case, like, there's a flying knee move, and the character will launch himself up and knee the opponent. Launch hit actor, like when you're giving someone an uppercut. Strike power, damage. Strike size, this is going to be the radius of the sphere trace, which we're going to use to transmit the damage and take control of the opponent for a second, stun them and whatnot. Yeah, you know what sphere trace is. Right, stun time, that's how long they're going to be stunned for. Delay next montage, this is to stop you from spamming the move. Like, for example, the jab is so fast that you could, if I didn't have that there, you could just keep jabbing and get an infinite combo. And you want to avoid infinite combos, especially ones that easy. Move name, self-explanatory. Interrupt, this is string, this is a set of strings, right? So you're going to list the moves that you want to be you're going to list the moves that you want to be able to interrupt this move with. So for example, you have the jab that can be interrupted with the cross, but the jab also has a cross right then that comes right after it, so you have to write that in there as well, otherwise it doesn't turn up. I haven't quite managed to automate that part yet. I haven't quite managed to get it to automatically add the moves from the array into the string set, but maybe later, maybe not. Maybe I'll do that in an update. Right, switch stance, that's Boolean. Yeah, it's change from left to right stance, or laying down, or whatever. Ends pulse on hit. This is because, like in the old tutorial, there's some moves where the striker, the sphere trace, keeps firing until it hits something. But unlike that example, I actually did put in the ball that can control whether or not it keeps pulsing once you've hit something. And reset after throw. This is to do with throws again. It's to do with putting the opponent back where they started. That might not be implemented yet, but anyway, this isn't about throws. Special, is it a special move? This basically for sorting out. Full direction hit actor. Yeah, we knocking them forwards, knocking them back. Hit height, again, that's for their AI. So that's the output strike data. Strike permissions. Yeah. These are your interrupts. So they automatically get put into this, and so that the H2H component knows what you can use as an interrupt and will reject anything else, and then make your character pause. And strike input. Yeah. As you remember, strike input's got interrupt disabled and enabled. Yeah, input permission has got enabled, interrupt and disabled. Throw abort, throw struct, we're going to leave them for now. Right, so I think all that is left is for me to show you how that all comes together. Notice I've got the H2H component, which is all blank, so you can make a child of that and just load in all your animations and configure them and plug it all in. If you use one of these side view characters, then you're basically going to have a fully operating character. If you make your own one, you're going to have a bit of work to do. I'll tell you about that towards the end of the video. But then you've got this kickboxing one, which is an example one, and it's got everything populated. Right, so let's crack this open. Right, you may remember me talk about the pulse. Here's your pulse control. There's clear interrupts, but we're jumping ahead of the gun a little bit. Transmit damage. Let's see if I can find set moves. Right, so this is your strike input, which the player uses. The AI uses it. The AI uses it for the throws. Let's break this so as a little refresher. It's that one. It's this. It's what it says it is. It's the input strike data. Right, and making sure it's not a throw, going for all of here, and I gotta show you the map. How is the map generated? Well, right at the beginning we build the moves list, and that goes in here. Then you go in here, and this move array integer, we're going through the array, which in this case is standing moves. So these are the moves that are going to be standing, and we've got the standing prefix, which will cause it to say standing in the string, so the software knows what you're doing. For each loop through that to generate all the names. It's called add-array-to moves map, and crack it open, break it open, and output strike data, and we check where it is in the array, so we can save that as well later. Yeah, and set move key, very important. This, if you're going to mess with this, you need to be careful, because if you get it wrong, nothing's going to work. This array key is to do with directions, so got to clear that before we do anything in case something else was done first. Array key, we're appending that onto the directions, and then we're getting the move key, which is going to be the font. This is the key that's actually going to be used, and we're naming it after the buttons. You might recognize quick punch, heavy punch, and stuff, and those names. Then we are appending the array key to the move key, and what else have we got here? Yeah, that's the prefix goes, so that could be standing, forward, back punch. And then we save that to pre-integer move key, because if we save that with the integer on the end, then the computer isn't going to know whether we press the same button twice or not. And we save that to the move key with the move array integer appended to it. Yeah, so that's how that's saved. And what's this doing here? Right, control. This is the AI, giving the AI a list of moves so it can just have quick access to it. Now, for actually performing a move, well, we'll look at how the data gets in. Set moves. Right. Strike input H2H is the event that's going to be called by the character. Making sure it's not a throw. As I said, throws are done very differently. Clearing the input on the end, and yeah, the strike input. You may remember me saying, if you're not falling or crouching, you're standing. Right, so look, false, and then we're standing. The set move key again, and move it using the data from there, which gives us the same result as we saved it with, but except now it will go through the map and find it. But this you've seen already, but this is the business end, really. Well, almost. Right, pre-integer stored key. Stored keys done later. There. And we go through all of here. We add the array onto there. This is how we know if we've pressed a button more than once, and if we haven't pressed it more than once, there'll be a mismatch between these two, and then that's set to 0. Then we get the move, use the move key to get the move from the move map using this find. I couldn't use arrays to do this because they're too slow, but maps do the job just fine. Still got to be careful with the code, make sure it's not too verbose, otherwise you bog yourself down and stuff just doesn't work. Right, and the moves map, the moves map as a output strike data struct. Set that to the current moves here, and then you go to play montage, which I'll show you in a bit. And next, setting that to 0. And setting the move key when does that fire? When it's false, we fire that part. First thing we go here, set that to 0 so we get a standard move. This is just to get the standard moves. You'll just take the button and say, right, forget about all the directions. We're just going to go for a standard move because that didn't make no sense. And remember, the set move key does that, so we're going back, so we've reset this and going through there, and we're playing the montage. That on the end is just clearing all the button arrays and everything. It uses the input strike data to figure out which stance we're in. Haven't currently implemented any attacks for laying down, so that's all blank. And then this on the end is deciding whether or not we've pressed the same button twice. I know I've got it previously in the other one, but I found I needed 2 of them to make sure it fired and kept itself up to date. Play opponent montage, that's for when you've hit an opponent and you've decided, right, they must react in this way. The throws actually use that. Yeah, default hit reaction. Default hit reaction is, where are they? They're here. Mid hit there's a lot of them. For every situation there's a default hit. Standing up, laying down, on the front, the back, left and right, blocking, crouching and blocking, you know the drill. Yeah, we all know what fighting games are like. Right, event default hit reaction. Yeah, stun montage, and whether or not you're blocking. Here's one that's useful as well, switch stance. Now this part, yeah, it's using the input strike data, each one of those, and this is telling the owner to switch stance using the interface. If it's not player controlled, it's got to tell the AI to do it. Right, I think that covers the essentials. Let's have a look if there's anything in here. Oh yeah, there will be actually. Like these simple little events that fire. This one's gonna be, I think there's a punch in it. Yeah, that's front punch. I've made up these, didn't manage to make them into a function, so you might have to make your own one. You might be able to copy and paste this. You can actually just paste it in and then click on there, and you'll be able to add to variables or something like that. Right, so we'll go over this very quickly because it's checking if it's a throw button array, so we store all the buttons. Store all the buttons in the array as we go along. Yeah, add unique to their length if it's more than 2. Then we're in a throw, and you have a very short delay so that you can actually press 2 buttons, otherwise it will just instantly go for an attack, go for a strike. And then input strike data says we're performing a throw. Right, and then this part we're interested in, is telling us we're doing a strike, so that's how, quite simple really, probably looks like a bit of spaghetti there, but that's one of the more simple parts. Yeah, those are much the same. Keyboard inputs, as you can see, and the gamepad input down. That's doing the direction, same with up and forwards and back. And these are the dash ones, pretty much doing the same thing. Okay, so yeah, that is definitely everything, and of course wouldn't really be attacking without affecting the health. Got a KO there. And yeah, so to have a whole bunch of moves like we have in all the best beat 'em up games, you can get the input, turn it into a string, and save all of those, and save all of the inputs as keys in a map, and then build your output Struct data, so, and then have that, and then use the variables from that to perform the move, in short. But in practice, there's, well, as you can see, there's quite a lot that goes into it. I hope that made sense, and if it didn't, please let me know. Yeah, because I want all of us to be making some really cool games. Right, okay, thank you and goodbye.